Good morning, councillors. Please take your seats and make sure your mobile devices are switched to silent. I declare the ordinary meeting of Kempsey Shire Council for the 17th of March 2026 open. Welcome to all. Council meetings are open to the public and live streamed so that our community can observe council in its decision-making process. I remind everyone that this meeting is being live streamed, and by being present in the chambers, your image and your voice may be recorded and broadcast publicly. Recordings will remain on Council's website for at least 12 months. Any other form of recording requires prior permission. In the chambers today, we have Councillor Ben Pakes.
Good morning.
Councillor Noel Selby.
Good morning.
Councillor Arthur Bain.
Good morning.
Councillor Julie Coburn.
Good morning.
Councillor Adam Matchett.
Good morning.
And Councillor Dean Saul.
Good morning.
Staff attending today are Mr Medal, our Chief Executive.
Good morning, everyone.
Mr Daniel Thorogood.
Good morning, all.
Mr Wesley Trotter, Director of Utilities.
Good morning.
Mr Philip Hood, Director of Operations and Planning.
Morning.
Ms Vicky Thomas, Group Manager, Governance and Information Services.
Good morning.
And Mrs Talia Webster, Governance Advisor.
Morning, everyone.
Welcome, councillors, the Chief Executive, council staff, members of public in the gallery, our very special guests in the gallery this morning as well, our school students, and those watching along via our live stream. Thank you all for being part of today's meeting and your continued interest in the work of council. Before we begin today's meeting, I'd like to briefly reflect on a couple of important moments in our community that have been recognised over the past few weeks. This week is Harmony Week, which reminds us that the strength of Kempsey Shire comes from the many cultures, stories and experiences that make up our community. From the Dungutty people who have cared for this land for thousands of years, to the many families who now call the Macleay Valley home. Our community is shaped by diversity. Harmony Week is a reminder that everyone deserves to feel a sense of belonging. We have also recently recognised International Women's Day. We acknowledge the contribution women make across our community every single day. I want to take a moment to recognise the women in this chamber, Councillor Coburn and Councillors Alexandra Wyatt and Deputy Mayor Lawrence, who aren't here, but also our amazing staff, Ms Vicky Thomas and Mrs Talia Webster, who make really important contributions to our decision-making process. Their contributions help guide decisions, deliver services and support our community every day. Across the Kempsey Shire, women continue to lead in many ways, in business, in community organisations, in their family and in public life. Their voices and experiences and leadership help shape the future of our region. Moments like Harmony Week and International Women's Day remind us that strong communities are built when people feel they belong, when diverse voices are heard, and when leadership is open to everyone who is willing to step forward, like our amazing young people here today. The work we do in this chamber reflects that responsibility. Today we'll hear from local school leaders, which is always a highlight and a reminder that leadership in our community begins early. We will also consider several important planning and governance matters, including the Stuarts Point Structure Plan, which looks at how we guide future growth in our communities while protecting the character and values that people care about. As always, I encourage respectful discussion and thoughtful consideration of the matters before us so that our decisions continue to serve the people of the Kempsey Shire well. We will now proceed with the opening prayer. Councillor Saul, would you like to do the opening prayer this morning?
Oh, yes, Madam Mayor. Dear Lord, help us in deliberations today so that our decisions will be for the greater good for the whole of Kempsey Shire. Amen.
Thank you, Councillor Saul. I'll now do the acknowledgement of country by Councillor Bain.
Barang marang, dangati guten didn't bari. Dangunuai Arthur. Nyanambu bita, nyanambu boro bukul. Bandunga kai malamangu, dangati guten didn't bari. Danang marangbu. So in English that is, good morning. This is Dungutty country. My name is Arthur. From the river and the plains, from the mountains to the ocean, this is Dungutty country. May you be well in this place. Thank you. Marangbu.
Thank you, Councillor Bain. Councillor Coburn, would you be able to do the acknowledgement of servicemen, women and their families?
Through you, Madam Mayor. I think it's
very important that we acknowledge that, particularly in light of what is happening in world affairs at the moment. And I know a lot of our armed forces are probably preparing to stand up if required. So I would like to acknowledge all of their dedication, their application, and that they do stand up for us and protect our shores. So particularly in light of what's happening in world affairs at the moment, I think we should really acknowledge what they do. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Coburn. We now move to item 4, which is apologies and applications for a leave of absence. Mr. Medal.
Yes, we do have one application for leave of absence from Councillor Alexandra Wyatt. The reason for her non-attendance is professional in nature, private and confidential, which has been disclosed to me on the 12th of March via a text message. She goes on to say, this is the first meeting that I've missed in all my terms of councillor, and I trust and thank the organising my privacy.
Thank you, Mr. Medal. Councillors, do I have a mover for accepting Councillor White's leave of absence? Councillor Matchett, seconded. Councillor Hicks. Is there any dissent? There is no dissent. The motion is carried. And a late welcome to our Deputy Mayor, Annette Lawrence. Thank you for joining us. We now move to item 5, which is confirmation of minutes from the ordinary meeting held on the 16th of February 2026. Do I have a mover? Councillor Pakes, seconded. Councillor Coburn. Is there any dissent or any discussion? No. The motion. We now move to item 6, which is disclosures of interest. Councillor Pakes.
Yeah, I've got a bunch of interest in 11.4 Arakoon Road. I think it's 157. I've known Barry and Sam for 30 odd years. And done work for them in the past, so I'll be leaving the room on that one.
Thank you, Councillor Pakes. Mr. Medal?
Yes, I also have a conflict of interest in item 11.4 as I live in close vicinity of the site.
Thank you, Mr. Medal. Are there any other conflicts, Councillor? I hear none. We'll now move to item 7, which is order of business. The purpose of this item is to formally fix the general order of business for today's meeting in accordance with the Code of Meeting Practice. Is there any discussion or any proposed variation to the order that has been published? Councillor Bain?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, I'd like to withdraw the 10.1 from the...
sorry, Councillor Bain, we're dealing with order of business at the moment.
So if we could bring the student presentations ahead of 10.1. Is what I would propose.
Yeah, it's 11. Yep, that's not a problem at all. Is 10.1 in the block?
Yes, 10.1 is in the is in the
But we will deal with the school leaders before we discuss that one. That's not a problem at all. If you'll need a mover, do I have a mover for that? Councillor Coburn, seconded. Councillor Selby. Is there any dissent? There is no dissent. We will now proceed to item 8, which is items passed by exception. Councillors, if you look at the block, you'll notice that almost all items in there except for school leaders. So if there's anything you want to withdraw and discuss, please let me know. Otherwise, you can also ask questions of items that are in the block. Councillor Coburn. Sorry, Councillor Coburn, I can't see your microphone behind that screen, so just be aware of that in the meeting.
Oh, okay, I'll hold it up.
Thank you.
Through you, Madam Mayor. I do have a number of questions around item 11.4. So I think we should remove that so that we can have a discussion around that one. I'm also interested in asking, I have a few points around the Stuarts Point structure plan. I'm happy to remove that so that we can have a discussion around that one as well, please. And also 11.5, the outstanding rates for write-off. I do have a question around one of those items. I can either ask that question or we can pull that out as well to have a discussion.
If were other councillors wanting to discuss that item, or would you prefer Councillor Coburn ask that question now?
Ask the question now, Madam Mayor. Maybe a simple one to answer.
Councillor Coburn, if you want to ask that question.
Yes, it's around the second item in the write-off document, and I just need to pull that up.
The cancelled lease.
Yes, the cancelled lease. My question was around who was the lease agreement actually made with?
Through you, Madam Mayor, I couldn't tell you off the top of the head who the lessee was, but even if I did know, I couldn't disclose it in open council. It wasn't a lease made by council. It was a lease made between the state government and a lessee of Crown land. So whilst the Crown land is under a lease, the lessee is liable to pay rates on that land, but the Crown in its own right is not. So at the time that the lease terminated, the debt is carried by the land, not by the lessee. But now the current lessee is no longer liable to pay rates, and therefore we need to waive the debt. So it's an unfortunate circumstance that's out of our control. The property was the Maddie's Flat Boat Shed, so I can tell you what the property was, but I couldn't tell you the identity of the lessee.
Thank you for that information.
Would
Thank
you still like to withdraw it, or you're happy,
No, that's
satisfied?
fine. I just needed that clarification. Thank you.
That's good. So at the moment we have out of the block for discussion 11.2, 11.4. Is there any other items, councillors, with Councillor Bain?
Yes, could we remove 10.1, please? And may I ask a further question about 11.5? Are there any strategies that we can take on board to avoid that in future, or is it just something we've got to suck up?
Mr. Thorogood.
Yeah, through you, Madam Mayor. No, there's definitely a lot of strategies that we put in place to ensure that we don't end up in these circumstances, and you'll see a report will come to the next council meeting regarding some outstanding rates that we're going to be chasing and proceeding along to a sale of property for unpaid rates. I guess obviously we can't sell up Crown leases, so they sit in a very sort of unique situation. Thankfully, there's not a lot of rate-paying lessees of Crown leases in the Shire, so the likelihood that this particular circumstance eventuates and the one for the other property are relatively slim. But yeah, I mean, for us, the number one strategy is the closer we collect those rates to when they're due, then the more likely we are to have them paid.
Thank you. Councillor Saul.
Madam Mayor, I have a question on 10.1. It's been withdrawn. I'm happy to ask it when it's withdrawn then. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Saul. Is there any other items councillors with to withdraw? If not, there is a recommendation before us. Do we have a mover? Councillor Paik, seconded Councillor Saul. Is there any dissent? There is no dissent. Thank you, councillors. We now move to item 9, which is mayor minutes, of which there are none. So we'll now move to item 11.1, which is the presentation by school leaders. And the recommendation before you is that council receives presentations from school leaders of Kempsey Shire high schools and colleges. Do I have a mover? Councillor Matchett, seconded Councillor Selby. Councillor Matchett, would you like to speak to this?
Yeah, I'd like to firstly welcome all of our school leaders. I'm fortunate enough through my job that I've gotten to work with a bunch of you already. I apologise that I wasn't here for the planning sessions, but I'm really excited to hear what you all have to say. I think last year we got a lot of value out of hearing what the young people of the region are interested and are motivated by. Unfortunately, due to floods last time, we didn't have our full cohort, so it's great to see representatives from all of our local schools. And yeah, welcome, and can't wait to hear from you.
Thank you, Councillor Matchett. I think with that, should we just put the motion and get the talent up? I'll put the motion. Is there any dissent? There is no dissent. The motion is carried. I will now we'll just move into the presentations now. First students up is Macleay Vocational College. And we have the wonderful Gabe coming up to speak. There's a little button on your microphone, and when you're ready.
Macleay Vocational College leaders consider the problem in our Kempsey Shire as some of the issues amongst our youth, including youth homelessness, youth mental health, and youth crime, which we have proposed the following solution. We feel the following song, Be the Change by Lily Joe, is a strong reminder that we can lead the way for change.
Turn on the news this morning, feeling the fear inside. Why is everybody fighting? We should be unified. Where can we find the answers? What is the remedy? How can we fix what's broken? It's an emergency. We need a revolution, and it begins right here. Stand up and face the future. Stand up and be the change. You don't have to fit forever. Don't have to be afraid. If we can stand together, then we can make it right. If we can fight the battle, love will win it every time. Stand up.
This is a copy of our poster which shows an overall look at the concept of having a purpose-built facility for youth at risk that provides a safe place to meet their needs on site, whilst also linking in with all the appropriate services for them to successfully navigate their way through the various challenges they are faced with. Taking a closer look, we can see some of the most important aspects required on site, beginning with meeting our youth's basic needs of safety, food, and shelter through the meeting. Additionally, and more specific needs to strengthen their capabilities and ability to thrive. Linking in with professional supports and specific services that with interventions in times of crisis. Targeted connections linking youth with ongoing relevant treatment options and support beyond initial crisis. Creating awareness and promoting such a purpose-built facility through channels our youth can access, such as social media, school sporting notices, and places of significant importance to youth people, ensuring accessibility. Securing funds to ensure this purpose-built facility can be established and continue to run effectively. It will require support from all levels, including federal, state funding, government grants, and community charity partnerships and sponsors. Providing professional guest speakers, workshops, presentations to encourage our youth at risk to explore the appropriate supports available and actively engage with, including considerations for various educational pathways. Whilst it is essentially a temporary home for youth at risk, it will provide all essential baseline needs whilst preventing facing similar issues in the future. The wraparound service will provide further opportunities for our youth to continue to thrive into adulthood. Making the initiative known is critical to ensure all those at risk can have equal, easy and safe access. We include a free to call 13 number and felt that the 2440 covered the Kempsey Shire, making it an easy number to remember for those in need. Considering location for such purpose-built facility, we felt it was important to be central, and building this dream solution would also take great strategic planning and working together to ensure it comes to fruition. Thank you for your time and allowing us as young people to share ideas and aspirations for a better Kempsey Shire. Thank you.
Thank you. That was amazing. Sometimes we do questions, but maybe you don't. Do you want to do questions, or you're not keen for questions? You spoke very, very well, and it was a really fantastic presentation. Thank you so much. Councillors, would you have any questions for our presenters? Sure.
I don't have a question. I just wanted to say well done. It can be really intimidating getting up in front of a bunch of people, especially in this kind of setting. It can feel a bit intimidating. So I think you should be really proud of yourselves for getting up and doing such a well thought out presentation. These are all key issues that the region faces, and I feel like you've really approached them with thought and care for your fellow young people. So I don't have any questions. I just want to say you did amazingly well and be proud of yourselves.
Thank you. Councillor Lawrence.
What Councillor Matchett said, and to thank you for coming today and presenting. I can tell that a lot of effort went into doing the slides, and the information that you've been able to share with us is really valuable. Can we get a copy of that? Thank you.
Councillor Pakes.
Alan, I sat down before. He was sitting there. I thought he was a little bit worried. He nailed it. But you all did a fantastic presentation. The need. I've seen it with my own eyes over the time I've spent in this town, and I absolutely recognise the need. So thank you for highlighting it at a broader scale. I hope there's PCYC news coming. That'd be great. That'd be a great outcome for everyone. But yeah, we recognise the need. Well done. Great work.
Thank you so much, Councillor Coburn.
Yeah, really great presentation, really contemporary. Fits into your generation, which I think is really important. Aware of any planning and development that's happening at the moment that actually is working in this space?
Oh, microphone. Yeah, sorry.
We talked a little bit when we were workshopping here, and obviously there are gaps in the system, but the kids came up with headspace that are locally working more, whereas they used to have to access that through Port Macquarie. There's certainly some services around, but the idea that they really want to gather to that central space where it would make it so much easier and less holes in the system. We did hear that the PCYC was a possibility, a new purpose-built facility central to town, which is why they thought that would be an ideal location. Or they keep seeing the empty Bunnings store saying, well, that's a big space, that's kind of in town. So, yeah, just big ideas where there's definitely a need.
Yeah, thank you for that. And I know I get a very consistent commentary from younger people, particularly about that lack of something to do, a lack of what they believe is a safe space specifically for them. And I really applaud that presentation. Thank you very much.
My question is this a space you feel like you need somewhere after school and somewhere to go, somewhere to hang? Like maybe not in the scheme of services, but there's offer a space for year 12s to go and study, and it's a nice space for them. It has snacks, it has internet. Do you feel like there's more need for that sort of thing as well?
I mean, yes and no. I mean, definitely like struggling through mental health. it's definitely a very good space to go to express, like talking to someone, especially as a bloke. It's really hard to open your feelings and, you know, hard to talk to someone. So it'd be definitely somewhere I'd want to go.
Yeah, thank you. That was very lovely to share. Is there any other, Councillor Bain?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yep, I think you nailed it with the, those basic safe housing, food, vocational options. Do you see a space for, particularly diversion from youth detention, but do you see a space for support for young people that come out of detention? What have you got any comments on that, please?
The youth crime was something they did discuss, and at the moment, as part of VC, we do actually interact with juvenile justice as well. So they thought that was a space where linking in with the PCYC could help as a preventative measure, rather than if they're facing any kind of juvenile justice systems, that they would be supported in the right way and channeled down paths that would better help them in the future. So definitely a space that hopefully encompasses it all. Obviously not every teenager will need access to all those things, but by having them all under one roof, or at least accessible by that one place, then you're not sort of seen as, anybody walking in and out won't necessarily have all those issues, but one or the other. So it's much more open space for all inclusive.
Councillor Selby.
Yes, thank you for a great presentation. The thing that I've taken out of it is the mental health issue. I've met a few young people lately that have got problems. One comes to mind. They were thrown out of home by their parents and now they're living homeless. And I think it's a really big issue in the Shire. It's something we really need to look at after we've had the mental health ward partially closed at the hospital. So, if you've got a problem, you've got to travel further. We really need to delve into this and have a really good look at it. Thanks for bringing it up.
Thank you. Are there any further questions? No. Thank you. And thank you for getting back up for questions. That's very brave. Amazing. But thank you. Thank you again. We now have Melville High School. If you would be happy to come up and take the podium. Good morning. It's great to be invited back here again. With the council's support, Melville would like to reinvent the desolate Slim Dusty Centre into a new arts centre. Our aim is to improve the centre. To attract youth and tourists to the updated venue, and we want to increase the net awareness, especially to the local youth, who many don't even know who Slim Dusty is. We want to introduce a couple of changes to the centre, including a name change, more artistic representation, and to complete our project by involving youth as much as possible.
Currently, the space is rarely used to share Slim Dusty's legacy, making the millions of dollars spent on the building left to be used as markets and for corporations to hire out. This leaves the large space bland but open to a lot of opportunity. The centre is important to Macleay culture, yet isn't advertised to full potential. Kempsey itself receives less tourists compared to the beach towns nearby, and revamping the centre can give tourists a new reason to visit Kempsey itself. Most youth in Kempsey have not visited the centre to see the displays or haven't visited the centre at all. We interviewed some of their opinions and why they've been to Slim Dusty Centre. I didn't know how to play the. Yeah, just let her do it. Yeah. I think.
Essentially what the video is about, it's just ranging students from our school who have told us that they know who Slim Dusty is, they know about the centre, but they don't necessarily know about the things that is provided at the Slim Dusty Centre. So essentially we want to reintroduce to youth with the centre that they can be involved in music, in art, and can still do that locally without having to move away. So basically we just want to reintroduce the youth to being proud in what they're good at, being proud in, you know, the things that they want to do with their career, and to let them know that they don't have to move to Sydney to do something like that. They can get the recognition that they want here. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, cool. To show that the centre has been updated to support the arts in Kempsey, we'd like to change the name. Having a more broader name, such as these, can be like can open the centre to more opportunities to show the legacy of Slim Dusty. When deciding on some possible options, we wanted to make sure we show that the centre is to show off who Slim Dusty is and how he supported the Macleay while making music. Then to broaden the name, we'd add something to show that the centre will be used for its updated purpose.
To invite tourists to explore Kempsey and the Shire, we would like to incorporate more murals into Kempsey Shire. To make the Slim Dusty Centre more welcoming, we'd create a large mural on the wall facing the street to create greater visibility of the centre. To give more opportunity to art in the Macleay, we also like to make a tourist drive with murals that would give a reason for tourists to explore. This would be a similar to the koalas in the Hastings Valley. To include youth engagement, we incorporate a Bears Valley feature with a praying mantis.
To reintroduce Slim Dusty to Kempsey, we would modernise the centre to present Slim Dusty as a supporter of the arts. To build on Slim Dusty's legacy, we'd give artists and performers more opportunities to show their talents to the community by making the centre into a hosting space. And it can become a hub of the arts that will honour Slim Dusty's history as well as supporting the up-and-coming youth.
Currently, the centre has exhibitions for Slim Dusty and the Nulla Nulla Gallery. These exhibitions are underutilised and rarely advertised. To change the centre into an art centre, we'd update the space physically to represent the arts, as well as hosting many more events, more often to show off talents. This will reach tourists and locals with increased advertising and displaying the arts, such as the mural.
To bring more musicians to the Shire, we'd like for the centre to host music events. This can become an opportunity for musicians in the Macleay to present their talents to the public. Possible tribute artists could play for Slim Dusty and prove how important he is to the Shire. Making a music space like this can greatly benefit the Macleay and support domestic artists.
To support new artists, we would like experienced artists to show their talents and support new artists as mentors. This can develop community for others and pass on knowledge and talent to the youth. To showcase the art and music made with support galleries and events can be held. Schools could even enter like house sculpture by Geo works. Possible prizes could be also awarded for excellent art pieces or music performances. This could also lead into artistic careers.
Slim Dusty is an important piece to Kempsey history and to the Macleay. Our idea came from the fact that there is an accessible art and music place for people in Kempsey, and many move to more urban areas to pursue artistic careers. By giving new opportunities, it can give more reason for youth to stay in Kempsey and learn more about Slim Dusty.
There will be very obvious limitations to updating the Slim Dusty Centre, which we'd like to avoid as much as possible. Some may be the funding. It may be required to organise events, create murals and promote the centre. Some community members may be mainly focused on the museum and history of Slim Dusty, which is still the key factor in the modernisation of the centre. Organising regular events such as live music nights would require volunteers, planning and consistent management. Attracting customers and audiences may take time while the centre rebuilds awareness in the community. Approval from local council or management may be needed for changes such as murals or new programs, which is what we are here to do today. There may be limitations in the space, equipment, resources for hosting larger
And to avoid issues arising, we'd come up with possible solutions such as funding, where we'd talk to you guys for grants or like aren't funding. Sponsorship from local businesses. No, some community might also discuss why we're pulling back from the traditionality of Slim Dusty, and to ensure that this doesn't happen, we'd want all events to celebrate and promote his legacy. We're also adding new activities that support country music and local artists. Organisation and volunteers will also be needed, so we could perhaps partner with local schools, musicians and community groups to organise and run events, while also attracting performers to promote events through social media, local radio, schools, community groups, and to build awareness. We'd also need approval from council or management and present a detailed proposition showing how changes benefit tourism, the community, and the centre. There's also limited space in the Slim Dusty Centre, so we could start with smaller acoustic events and gradually expand as more resources and support become more available.
With the council's help, we'd love to make this vision possible. And thanks for listening to Melville High School presentation. Does anyone have any questions today?
Thank you all for that presentation. The title really got me there at the start. Very clever. Councillors, do we have any questions for our Councillor Coburn?
Yeah, I love that title too. That really grabs your attention. And I love it that you're focusing on Slim Dusty and what he can actually bring. There are limitations, probably not aware, mean things can't change. I love that idea of getting covers of his music done, whether that's just by students or whether that's by other local performers. Great idea, and something that I think we could take off quite easily. But great idea, really thinking outside the square. Congratulations, really brilliant presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Lawrence.
Question. You mentioned about young people, I guess, or some people not knowing who Slim Dusty is, and we're not sort of, I guess, the full potential isn't, I guess, out in community. What do you think we could do better in that regard?
Well, there's definitely more promotional value with the name of Slim Dusty. You know, it is more of a niche subject, you know, Australian outback country music. But the fact that he means so much to Macleay and he's such a crucial standpoint in our community, we really think that, you know, as we mentioned, getting in the radios, local stations, you know, newspapers like the Argus, for example, even utilising social media, which, you know, everyone is on today. By doing all of that, I really think we could make a change with that and grab everyone's attention. Thank you.
Councillor Bain and Councillor Pakes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Amazing thinking outside the box. So I've just, you know, one of the things that came to me while you were making your presentation, I'm aware that the Macleay Public Schools has regular music, you know, like there's a music night, a performance. Maybe we could throw out a challenge to the staff and school leaders that are here to say, how about we include the non-government schools, work with Macleay Public Schools and see if we can set up just a one-off for a start, a music event instead of having it in wherever it happens nowadays in a school hall. Yeah, Melville School Hall. Let's have it. Let's try it at the undusted Slim Dusty Centre. Just a thought. What do you reckon?
That would be a wonderful idea, especially since the governed schools music festival is already up and running. Including more schools would be wonderful and make a big step into what we'd like to do. Thank you.
The biggest part that I liked out of your presentation, and fantastic, is the innovation and solutions. Like, you're thinking about ways to make it work, and that's absolutely what this council is about, in my opinion. I think we're about that. If this council put a resolution and offered every year 11 and 12 student, firstly a visit, and then made it their task to give us some solutions, do you think that'd be a step forward? And would you accept that challenge? First question. I've got another one.
Yeah, absolutely. I think even some kids our age still don't know who Slim Dusty is. So I think even though we're trying to sort of change the environment of it, it's still all about Slim Dusty. So I think getting them to see, you know, all of the cool stuff that's in the museum section of the Nulla Nulla Gallery, I think that'd be really important. And not only that, I think we'd all really enjoy it. You know, like I think just going out of our way to look at something within our community and putting an importance to it would really matter to us.
Absolutely, and I better have a little disclaimer here. My dad's 84, used to drive buses around Australia, and Slim Dusty was on like a lot of my time I spent with him, so I heard a lot of the words to the songs, and it's very, very pertinent to life. He sings about life and transport and a lot of the things that really matter to everyone. So from that, and probably following on from Councillor Bain, of an arts and music festival week by youth. That's what it feels like. That's what it feels like your solution is starting at. What do you think?
I feel like the main idea is kind of youth engagement to start with, because the schools do have kind of individual music performances. Like we've got the Melville High School thing that gets held with kind of the local primary schools. But then we've also got St. Paul's and Cas, which kind of do their own separate music groups, which I've visited. Not as good as ours, but no, if we try to get all the youth in Kempsey to come together in like kind of a different location where it's just kids making the music together, we could definitely start there and kind of promote this community of music and art in the local community, like independent from the schools. And it becomes this kind of community where they're fostering each other's talent, if you will. And then we're hoping to then branch out from local kids to then maybe aspiring musicians from the area, bands that might need a venue to play or something like that. But yeah.
Love it. Yeah, great.
Councillor Selby.
Yeah, thank you. It's a great idea. Just a couple of ideas that I've had, and I've pushed them before too. Maybe you could resurrect the Slim Dusty Festival, some of the starters. Like, I think that'd be big. I've spoken to a few people in council about making an amphitheatre down the bottom on the grass and that, with a stage there. I think that's something you will need for it. I'd love to see it happen. And another thing I'd like to see, maybe approach a Kubra and say, how about you build a bigger Kubra out the front there? Just a couple of ideas. Thank you.
Yeah, I absolutely take those on. Last time when we were here, we had Mayor Ring join us, and she proposed the idea of the amphitheatre and utilising the hilly bits for those who can't really see all the action. We can utilise, you know, chairs and things like that in there. But yeah, utilising not only the centre, but all of the space around it and really promoting. Our main thing is we don't want to take the spotlight away from him. He is the reason for that centre, and he's the reason that so much money went into it. His legacy is just so important to the Macleay, and it's so important for even for the youth who don't know him. You know, they see someone who's from, you know, a niche background, who's gotten all this success, and you know maybe I can do that too. I've got all these people around me who sort of say, you know, music isn't a career, art isn't a career, but it can really be possible. And we sort of also said that at the Lead Like a Girl conference, that, you know, anything is possible for yourself. You don't need to set your mind to something that someone else wants you to do. You don't need to do this or do that. You can forge a path. So we really want to focus on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Saul.
Well, thank you, Madam Mayor. Student, well done presentation. I was very impressed with all that. One possible suggestion perhaps you can think about is trying to partner with the local country music people here, work together with them, because by working together, it's just all ages and everyone then gets involved. So I do think it'd be one thing to do, to have that partnership, and of course to ensure the name goes on. It's a well-known name. It gives us credibility here in Kempsey. So youth and of all ages, I think, would be a bonus for our community. Thank you for that.
Sorry, I know I'm rebutting everything. So we actually had sort of, when we had our conversation, we spoke about Unplugged, which is sort of the rural, band system where, people of all generations, the older generation, the younger and the middle generations, they all come together, they sing, they play for each other, they show each other their talents, and they get constructive feedback. So something that we also want to do with that is we want to bring back Unplugged. So, the youth and the people who now in life are wanting to pursue art or music, like they have that guidance with them and they're not going in blindly, essentially.
Very well done. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, I'll stop now.
No, that's what we're here for, to debate. No, thank you so much for your presentation. One more, Councillor?
Yeah, I just wanted to say I really like the idea as well of the praying mantis, Where's Wally idea. That was pretty cool. One question actually, how do you think, and I don't think we covered it, how do you think we can get more tourists and stuff attracted to here as well with some of the ideas that you mentioned? Because I know my little 12-year-old nephew just moved to the area and he's from Sydney, and he said he didn't know that the building was here and he loves Slim Dusty. He knows all the songs. So yeah, what do you think we could do to let other people out of area know about the Slim Dusty Centre?
So Slim Dusty is definitely this kind of Australian figure, and I'm sure kind of out west he's pretty big as well. So if we try and put the focus on him, I feel that we would get tourism coming in for perhaps, like if we brought back the Slim Dusty Music Festival, was it? Yeah. If we brought that back, people would definitely come and be like, oh, like the legacy, we kind of got to check it out because we're big fans or something like that. And that's when we could also bring in youth and people can see this possible future talent as well as what they came to see, which is the Slim Dusty stuff.
Thank you.
Awesome, thanks.
Councillor Baines.
Oh, just a quick comment. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I've just got an email bounced into my inbox of a New South Wales announcing $50 million regional communities fund to support leadership. So there's a possibility.
Thank you, Councillor Bain, and thank you, Melville High School. I loved all of your solutions and all the ideas that you put forward. Very well thought out presentation. We do apologise for the little technical difficulties. If you want to pass on your presentation so we can maybe watch the video, that would be more than acceptable. But thank you. Now we have Kempsey High School. And a quick shout out to Kempsey High. They've just been named in New South Wales top 50 most improved schools. So big kudos to them. But I'll let you guys start whenever you're ready.
Right, first off, I'd just like to, on behalf of Kempsey High School, thank you, Council, for inviting us and to present our ideas for building a better community.
Kempsey High School envisions a continuous into the future where the Shire's needs are met, their safety prioritised, and where its citizens feel recognised and welcomed. Ultimately, we wish to then improve the perception of our Shire so that others may be enlightened and attracted to our quaint community. We also recognise the capabilities and limitations of the Council in their ability to execute certain idealistic proposals, and as such, Kempsey High School suggests numerous relatively small yet beneficial changes in infrastructures specifically to suit our vision.
The contents of our presentation will include slide 1, the justifications, then public waste disposals, streets of the Shire, road safety infrastructures, and then the conclusion.
Justifications. KHS has determined infrastructure to be an important area which requires improvement, as determined by the following factors: expressions for change in this area, interrelation to other issues, actionability of improvement. KHS recognises that improvements in infrastructure can lead to greater improvements in environmental and social conditions that affect the Shire, while also enhancing safety.
Public waste. Common problems exclude amounts of litter in our area of outstanding natural beauty. Cigarette butts specifically are permitted among the litter and property recognition are lacking. This could likely be attributed to the laziness and the lack of accessible proper disposal and the belief they will be punished. Facts. Cigarette butts are the most littered item in the world, with a disposal supposedly of 8.9 billion them being cost into the environment in Australia alone, and they are non-biodegradable.
Some proposed solutions include more bins along prominent walking paths, such as those along Belgrave Street and between the CBD and railway line. Having some more close to the park as well could be beneficial due to the high amounts of rubbish that have been noticed near it. Investments into cigarette-specific disposal bins in popular smoking areas such as along the Belgrave bus stop, Clyde Street and so forth to encourage their use and avoid potential fires in regular bins. We also would ask that more signage in general regarding littering, especially near popular smoking spots, be implemented as a means of deterrence.
Current problems. Footpaths, CBD exempt, require attention as some are in poor condition and are beginning to become overgrown. Footpaths need to be constructed as some streets are lacking footpaths and involve potentially dangerous transversals as consequence. Concerns that the streetlights around the Shire may not be most environmentally beneficial. More lighting or more powerful lighting in areas of known antisocial behaviour to discourage criminal activities and aid law enforcement with identification of said activities or persons. Some regarded parts of Kempsey as too dark and felt unsafe, and more lighting would help.
So just with figure 1.1, if you would direct your attention to it, that was an image taken off the Kempsey Notice Board Facebook page. It was posted on the 14th of January this year. And as we can see, there's a lack of a footpath in that street with overgrown grassy area that's obviously not wheelchair accessible. This will require some changes to be more inclusive and safe for Shire residents. And perhaps in further future disability inclusion action plans from the council, footpaths may require more attention.
Proposed solutions for the streets of the Shire. There would be conduction of some form of investigation to identify areas that require improvement or ask for public input, then implement their suggestions as best as possible. Providing at the very least some form of alternative walking space, such as well-maintained grass areas that don't require road traversal for areas without footpaths. Further investment in more energy efficient LED lighting across the whole Shire, if this has not already been accomplished during the 1,421 streetlight renewals of 2022. Construct new lighting apparatus around identified areas that may be susceptible to antisocial behaviour.
Also, improve lighting with more streetlights in the darker areas such as River Street and Northern and of Tozer Street.
Current problems. As our community has been reminded time and time again, the roads which connect the Shire are a particularly dangerous space which require specific attention. The following are some proposed steps towards achieving safer roadways for all. Lack of bicycle lanes around the Shire, particularly in our towns, and the roads connecting them. This may lead to dangerous encounters on the road between cars and bicycles. Not enough permanent or mobile speed cameras in high risk and prominent speeding zones such as Crescent Road, Southwest Rocks Road, Point Plummer Road, and so forth. Not enough signage within these areas, particularly advisory signs. Yeah. Lack of guardrails on potentially dangerous turns. Complements of roads uneven and in poor condition.
Proposed solutions. Identify areas suitable for bike lanes, such as along town streets connecting the bike tracks around town, and begin designating space and marking lanes. Could be an extension of Kempsey Shire Bike Plan, 2018. Advocate with potential community support for more speed cameras along high-risk areas such as those roads previously identified. Reach out to community members for their thoughts on dangerous areas as well. For improved signage and safety infrastructure along high-risk roads, advocate for potential enrolment in black spot programs for these areas or seek general government grants. Erection of more guardrails along dangerous corners like these along Armidale Road. See figure 1.2. Keep up maintenance efforts for Shire roads.
Road safety introduction. Petition of Armidale Road identifies suggestions located of the guardrails due to the petition and the fine of accidents. One suggested areas required a guardrail with what was identified along Armidale Road 2034 Armidale Road. The area outlined in yellow is a suggestion located for one of to be built, where the red suggests the bumpiness from the crashes that have occurred as a result of that turn. If a guardrail was placed here and in similar places around the Shire, there would be less severe accidents would be averted. Identify these areas would require a more in-depth investigation.
Conclusively, Kempsey High School has demonstrated the necessity for attention around infrastructure around the Shire, particularly Kempsey itself, and have only scratched the surface where it comes to possible improvements. We believe that attention to public waste disposals, improvements to the streets of the Shire, such as footpaths and lighting, as well as upgrades to road safety infrastructure, will have a cascading effect and lead to improvements in inclusion, antisocial behaviours, and general safety and well-being of the Shire. These will ultimately contribute to a more positive image of our beautiful area and its wonderful residents. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. That was a great presentation. Councillors, Councillor Saul.
Mayor, students, well done presentation, very thorough. Students, one question. I have a business in the downtown CDB and I see constantly people dropping cigarette butts and then unfortunately scrubbing to the footpath. Have you any solutions how we can overcome that system? Because it's just something of apathy. So how can we, as a community, try and overcome such, wrong actions?
So yeah, we would, as suggested, put more maybe signage, increase awareness. Maybe some people believe that cigarette butts aren't actually a form of litter. They just think it because of, years and years of doing the same thing over and over again, inherited from their parents and such, that they don't think it's a form of litter and doesn't contribute negatively to our environment. So perhaps building some awareness around that area, as well as putting some signage up and putting the proper waste receptacles around important and notable areas of smoking might help contribute to reducing this.
Thank you. That's wonderful to hear, because everything we can do to lessen that, it's a bonus for our community, because they do look ugly. They do look like a real eyesore in the community. Change perceptions, change people's minds. That's a win for the community. Secondly, the bike lanes, I commend you on that as well. I pushed hard for that. We need to try and have more bike lanes for safety for our students. Do you students also cycle much at all? And then your peers cycle much at all, I wonder?
I know a lot of us don't actually cycle, but I have seen in the community a lot of us are getting more active. A lot of us are hoping to better ourselves. And I know we do have a walking track, but if we take in consideration to people that do bike, like that could cause harm between the walkers or the runners and whatnot. So everyone needs their own place to improve themselves. So we personally don't bike, but I know we're all pretty active.
Thank you for that. And I imagine the cost of fuel, we may be cycling a lot more, all of us. Thank you.
You, Councillor Bain.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, congratulations on your presentation. I think the active transport lanes is a really, really important step in our future. I'm just, I don't know if you've noticed, but I've noticed that since the prior to the cheap tobacco being available, that you hardly ever saw a butt on the streets. But now that cheap tobacco is available, you tend to see. I tend to see a lot more butts. In terms of the Disability Inclusion Action Plan, are you familiar with the fact that it's now up for public consultation, and it's an open-ended consultation? It might be a great opportunity for getting someone out to your school to have a chat to you about it, filling out the online survey. It's there on the council front and centre on the council website. Congratulations for pointing it out, but there are other ways to have your voice heard. Okay, thank you.
Councillor Coburn, then Councillor Selby, then Councillor Pakes.
Thank you. Thanks for your presentation. It's really interesting when you talked about that cigarette waste, because we're all involved in Clean Up Australia Day, and we collected so many cigarette butts in the most random places. It was really interesting, but I do actually agree with Councillor Bain around that black market tobacco. I think has really introduced a lot more people to smoking cigarettes. And there's also that waste that comes from vaping. I've found those plastic little containers in the most random places as well. So I just find it really interesting that's one thing that you have picked up upon. And I also agree with the bike plan. I think is a terrific idea. What's your thoughts on e-bikes and how they get around the joint?
So I take a SBAT and I'm at Service New South Wales, so I do know they are illegal and they're not allowed. I just think that if we're trying to implement safety on them, and because they are illegal, we have to take it up with police force and the government to change that ruling, because we are finding a lot of e-bikes around in Kempsey with younger students, like younger than us, are on those. Some of them are doubling 2 people on the one without a helmet, so we really do need to make it more aware. So our school personally has had a big assembly on them, made it aware that they will be fined and whatnot. But yes, e-bikes are illegal, so we do need to implement using a bike or a scooter or other legal activities.
Councillor Selby.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for your presentation. It's really good. The road safety bit grabbed me. I'm on the traffic committee. Can I get a copy of that? Because I'd like to present it to the traffic committee. Would be a good place to start for you guys.
Absolutely, thank you.
Yeah, 2034 Armadale Road. I attended multiple accidents at that place, and I've pulled people out of cars in that location. I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, my parents had a farm 50 k's west of Kempsey, and I remember that piece of road in the little cattle truck we used to drive up there was always bumpy. And yeah, since being in fire and rescue, I've attended multiple incidents in that location. So it's definitely one for Noel and the traffic committee. Priorities of the items you've raised. Can you prioritise 1, 2, 3, 4? What's the number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4? Because we can do little bits of lots of stuff, but are roads number 1? Is the waste number 1? Which is number 1 for you guys?
I would argue that the road safety infrastructure is definitely number 1 because it involves the well-being of the Shire's residents. So that'd be number 1. Number 2 would probably be the would probably be the Streets of the Shire slide, where we address more safety measures and more inclusive measures taken for all, because that also involves the well-being of particularly our most vulnerable residents of the Shire. And then third would be the waste disposals, implementing that, and then taking care of the environment. But first, we've got to prioritise ourselves.
And I would agree 100%. I would think exactly the same way. So yeah, well done, well done.
Councillor Matchett.
Yeah, just quickly, once again, want to congratulate all of you. I've been so impressed by the presentations this morning with how selfless and community focused you're being. I think sometimes in these scenarios, your first instinct is to like dream up the brand new shiny thing, but you guys are really thinking realistically and thinking about what's best for the broader community. So well done.
Thank you. Amazing presentation, guys. Thank you so much. We now have Kempsey Adventist School.
Good morning, Mayor Kinney Ring, councillors and those who are here with us today. To start off, I'd like to introduce us. We're the secondary school captains of CAS. I'm Tash. This is Harry, Tiana and Kasani. And we're joined here today to express our want for an improved accountability within our community for both schools and families within our region, specifically focusing on important improvement when natural disasters occur, such as flooding.
Alrighty. Our goals as students of Kempsey Adventist School are to increase flexibility within our school community by preparing for the natural disaster of flooding. Flooding is a recurring issue in the Kempsey region and often causes road closures and isolation, preventing students and teachers from safely attending school. Many families also face these difficulties, blocking access to essential services including medical care, reliable internet, and crucial education, disrupting consistent learning abilities. Our proposal aims to help alleviate these difficulties, placing a particular emphasis on Year 11 and 12 students who are completing their HSC. Due to the compressed nature of the HSC curriculum at CAS, missing a few lessons can make it exceptionally difficult to keep up with important content. So advanced preparation would help strengthen the resilience of the school community and permit equal access of education for all students. Another aspect of Rudder's Lagoon constant flooding is that it isolates communities, cutting off access to resources like food or medical attention. Not only do patients get isolated, but essential workers then have to be ferried across Rudders by SES, so that way they can provide service to the rest of Kempsey.
Our proposal to Our proposal to the Kempsey Shire Council is to raise Rudders Lagoon Bridge, implementing short-term measures while endeavouring to achieve this accomplishment. We acknowledge that this might require further action like raising the road as well. The key issue addressed in this presentation is the flooding of Rudders Lagoon, which can restrict access to CAS and Crescent Head Road when traversing to Kempsey. During flooding, any transportation of goods and individuals is cut off, isolating family, students, workers who use these roads daily. This effectively results in emergency and medical services experiencing delay, as well as difficulties travelling to work, purchasing groceries, or collecting necessities required during chaotic and destructive moments produced from major flooding events. Additionally, the Waste Management Centre also becomes separated from Kempsey citizens, creating potential health hazards during long periods of time.
Okay, the Macleay River has always posed a risk of water damage and flooding to our region, so some areas within Kempsey have already contained short-term and long-term measures. The primary traffic bridge has a flood camera with constant updates and awareness during this natural disaster. While this measure can become costly for short term, it is an incredible safety and reliable communication across travellers and students. CAS currently utilises buses during flooding to depart students away from campus when the bridge is predicted to flood. This is a very effective short-term measure. However, the cost and time of operating buses and organising the school-wide pickups is inefficient for longevity and fails to fix the main issue at hand. Crescent Head Road also currently has a fairly poor drainage, which can also be a priority within our region. However, unlike other drained areas throughout Kempsey, the bridge's lagoon would simply overflow and cover any system put in place unless a widely expensive and time-costly drainage system was implemented. The last comparison shown can be drawn from other schools in other regions. CAS is always first to get separated from students, and especially for senior years, may result in unfair setbacks in education and learning. Here on the left side are two photos of Rodders Lagoon during regular days, without flooding or consistent rainfall. On the right side is Rodders Lagoon during constant days of heavy showers and flooding in the region. As we can see, on the top right-hand side of the road is normally closed due to water overflowing from Rodders Lagoon, preventing people from travelling along this main road. Unlike other bridges in the region, due to the nature of the low height and relatively high lagoon, even just a few days of moderate rainfall poses a serious risk of overflowing, represented by the image shown on the bottom right.
As many have seen in the flood photos, Rodders Lagoon cuts off first at Cas and then isolates the areas between Connection Creek and Cas. Our proposal doesn't just fix our school, it lines up perfectly with our Kempsey Shire objectives and our ongoing work like those Macleay River flood cameras and drainage projects. From the objectives from the Community Strategic Plan, Objective 1.4 is all about spotting natural hazards like floods early and letting that shape decisions. We're doing exactly that with the bridge raising and new tech to keep everyone informed and safe. Then 1.3 pushes for healthy and safe lifestyles within our community, and our plan secures HSC lessons for year 11 to 12 students like us, as well as efficient medical access when roads flood. 1.2 balances town growth with nature, so alleviating the bridge protects both our built roads and the lagoon environment. 2.3 makes education available everywhere in the Shire, stopping schools like ours from closing, and 3.2 improves life quality through better facilities and Crescent Head road reliability.
So what are we suggesting? A smart step-by-step plan from our CAS team that delivers those objectives. Short term, which may include the next 3 years, we'd like Council to consider launch tech like a flood camera, the same as Kempsey's main bridge for live warnings plus community meetups right at school to prep families together. Medium term, emergency access ramp off the highway to Crescent Head, providing access to resources because shops nearby will be cut off, and as well as enabling emergency help for individuals and families with medical issues. The main long-term goal is to plan to fully raise Rodders Lagoon Bridge for permanent access to schools, jobs, and to Kempsey, ensuring efficient travels.
Oh, well, no, wrong one. There we go. We understand that a big part of being a regional Shire Council is that funding is tight and hard to gain. So after some research, our team has discovered a government-run fund, which is the Funds Disaster Relief, which funds disaster resilience and risk reduction projects. It provides up to $200 million a year in Commonwealth funding and will be operating from. It's been operating from 2023 and 2024, and will be continuing until 2027 and 2028. From their guidelines, this proposal is eligible. So our proposal aligns with 2 out of their 3 objectives, as our project is focused on increasing resilience and reducing the impact of natural disasters, as well as reducing the disaster's impact on the government and affected communities. The fund focuses on investing in certain types of infrastructure, having $138 million of this total fund allocated to certain types of infrastructure. By proposing to raise one of our bridges, we are improving our infrastructure and improve the community's resilience to flooding, which makes this proposal very eligible for this. Also, by being a regional council, we also allocate extra points to help with getting this proposal accepted. This ultimately could be an area that the council should investigate, not just for this proposal, but for other related responses to natural disasters. Another avenue we have researched was if this proposal was already part of any council plans or if it needed to be added to any. It would appear that this proposal falls into some of the objectives of the Sustainability and Resilience Plan of 2022, so specifically on pages 30 and 31, where it aligns with the objectives E.3 and E.4. In addition, the Strategic Assessment Management Plan of 2025 to 2034 mentions on page 19 and 20 speaks of the risk to council assets due to climate and extreme weather events, which this also aligns with. Both of these council plans would indicate that this proposal could form an integral part of the council's projects in the near future.
Overall, preparing systems in advance would help strengthen the resilience of the school community while also promoting fairness and equal access to education for all students. Additionally, permitting consistent access to Crescent Head Road for individuals needing to traverse to our town. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. That was really fantastic. On last year, when I think that for like maybe just months of the year, which was really disturbing to all those students doing their HSC. So I can really sympathise with this one. Any questions, councillors? Councillor Coburn.
Great presentation. It was really, you've really gone in depth, and I really appreciate that you've not only looked at local government and what our actual plans and strategies are, and good on you for jumping in and looking at that, but you've also tried to look at where further government funding options are possibly available. And I know when we were talking about this, what happens to you when you become isolated from school was a really high concern for you. And I really hope you start working on that localised resilience plan for yourselves so that you can overcome those stoppages to your learning process. But really, congratulations, well done, and you all spoke really well.
Councillor Lawrence.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I'd just like to echo what Councillor Coburn has said, and yeah, thank you all for coming and presenting. I know it's not easy to talk in front of everybody, so I just want to congratulate you on that. A question that I have is around the exit points, the emergency slide that you had up there. Where did you propose that would be? Would that be on the highway there? If there was to be something that they would build in terms of like, because that would take a long time, obviously. So. Yeah.
So the emergency access ramp, I already know currently that a lot of people during flooding, they will actually climb down their embankment and get into cars, try and get to work. So we are proposing, or just bringing it up onto your minds, is that they build just at least a much safer path for people to be able to get down. I do understand that it is also a highway, so it's not exactly a local shire thing that you guys can exactly do. However, we just do want to raise it as it is a concern with people constantly climbing down down the overpass onto the highway there during flooding.
Thank you for that. Any further things, councillors? I think that means you did a really well covered presentation. Just really fantastic, guys. Thank you so much. That can. Oh, we've got one more presentation. That's a video from St. Paul's College.
Good morning, councillors. Today, our students from St. Paul's would like to propose our idea of what we think would benefit our community. Throughout this presentation, there will be outlines of what we hope to achieve and ways we can do this. There will also be a visual diagram created which shows the design of what we hope our idea would shape out to be. Our idea, we would hope, would benefit the whole community, but mainly young people. Our central idea is a youth hub that would cater towards the youth, that provides a variety of services, opportunities, and programs that would benefit youth. It would mainly address the problems such as youth crime, homelessness, and increasing life skills.
On the Mid-North Coast, there is a concerning increase in youth crime rate, mainly including break-ins, stealing, and motor vehicle-based incidences. In addition, more young individuals are being found to be homeless with less resources to feed and provide clothing and bedding. There are individual services to support all of these causes, yet they are inaccessible as not every individual has equal access. As a result, it would be more beneficial if they were under one organisation.
In the Mid-North Coast, we want to create a central hub which aims to reduce the alarming rate of crime and homelessness in our community. It would provide resources like food, transport, clothes, links to education, employment agencies, and essential human services. We would create and fund programs to engage young people in increasing life skills, such as getting a job, basic first aid, home maintenance, and financial management. As a community, we would encourage a sense of cultural identity and belonging. The hub would also cater for supporting sporting pathways. There would be an active funding to help with registration fees, such as the Active Kids vouchers, purchasing equipment, and getting from different locations via transport. The hub would also provide basic amenities to all individuals, such as showers and toilets for the residents.
We plan to get this by identifying funding. As a group, we decided that this could be through the sources of federal and/or state government. Further, we would ask for assistance from local council. This can be through grants. Once we find funding, we would find the location of the hub. As a group, we proposed that the possible location could be the car park behind Setnaj. There is sufficient room, would provide places for accessibility, and is not prone to flooding. Once infrastructure has been built, we would propose that we partner with local organisations such as Headspace for counselling and support, TAFE for education and employment opportunities, and supermarkets to donate food. More businesses include Vinnies to fund clothing and place donation bins for local citizens to donate any items that are not wanted, and local Kempsey Police to help reduce crime rates by increasing awareness. Lastly, rooms inside the hub would be leased out to other organisations who might want to use the opportunity to provide sponsorships and referrals. This will be seen in different organisations.
These images in front of you show an AI-generated image of what we would like the future hub to look like, including all the different levels and the garden park.
Thank you on behalf of the St. Paul's team.
Don't know if do we still clap even. So we had their trial exams on this week, so they couldn't make it in, but we appreciate them sending in their video. Thank you so much for all schools for coming along today. It's been really enlightening. It's so impressive to see how engaged you are. And maybe one day you should think about potentially running for council. We're now going to have a bit of a morning tea, which is up the back, and we'll adjourn the meeting until 11. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. We're now back in council, and I just wanted to take a moment to thank Wendy for her organisation in that school leaders program. She's done a fantastic job, and she faced enormous challenges with the flood to get all that done last year. So I'm glad that this year we've been able to have it a bit more smoothly. All right, we now move to item 10.1. which is the Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee February 2026 meeting minutes and annual ARIC and internal audit performance report to Council. Councillor Bain, would you like to move?
I would. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
And a seconder, Councillor Saul. Councillor Bain, would you like to open?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The reason that I've withdrawn this is because I think it's just to publicly address some of the feedback I get from, for, things like when we were talking about a special rate variation, there was discussion that we need to get a forensic audit done of council, and I don't think people may realise the depth of the Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee's work. So I'm just going to begin with what is ARIC? And ARIC is an independent body whose role is to improve governance, risk management and operational performance of councils. And I stress it's an independent body. It is not a committee of council. It's it's there to support our council to run more effectively. ARIC identifies risks that might be financial risk, but it's also risks around some of the out of the minutes that was identified was things like project management and fraud control. The matter of e-bikes is presenting a risk. That's a risk in waste management, but also a risk in road safety, as was brought up. IT and data security. Another thing that I often get spoken to by people is that, why doesn't council just stick to the business of roads, rates and rubbish? Well, actually, we do. That's our core business, but the state government also expects a lot of other services, libraries, art galleries, cultural enrichment of our community, but also compliance, compliance with things like in our annual report, we have to report on the fact that we are absolutely 100% sure that there is no slavery involved in our supply chains. There's a whole range of issues that council are responsible for that go beyond the 3 R's of roads, rates and rubbish. In terms of the audit, we have an internal auditor who's doing a fantastic job of overviewing areas of potential risk, identifying those, and then has a program of audits and works closely with the Office of Local Government or the Office of Audit, the Audit Office, who do those external audits. And one of the issues that leapt out at me in reading the minutes is the development of policies around AI. Now, AI is a really, it's a looming space. There was recently a New South Wales audit report that is prompting councils to act rather than wait till there's legislation frameworks. And I welcome the fact that Kempsey Shire Council is in the process of developing an AI policy. AI has some really positive potential writing reports. I'm aware of, I think Mid Coast Council has cameras on their rubbish trucks and on their waste management trucks. Sorry, and while they're driving around, those cameras are monitoring the roads and they can identify areas of road maintenance. So it's a really effective use of time. But it also has some dangers and some risks. Talking about environmental risks, the amount of water and power that these AI data centres are using is going to become increasingly an issue in a world where clean water is going to be less accessible, and we're all aware of the implications of the need for greater power, electricity. There are social implications. Are we going to be replacing workers with AI, or is AI going to take over those roles that are easily automated and we maintain the human contact? There's great possibility for error in AI if we think of robo-debt, for example. Data security has been identified by the Audit Office as a major process that we're starting to use AI. And we need to maintain, particularly in customer service, that we have that personal touch. The world of AI is dynamic. It's constantly changing. So any policies that we develop will need to be flexible. We can't set a policy and review it every 5 years. It's going to need to be an ongoing review as new issues arise in the AI space. But I congratulate Council and the ARIC team on the incredible work they're doing to improve our governance and improve our operational performance and to identify and manage those risks. So I highly commend this resolution to my colleagues. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bain. I think you raised some really important topics there. Councillor Saul.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor, the issue of e-bikes was raised, and in the CDB, they seem to be getting further and further in our faces. In fact, myself was almost toppled by two youths on an e-bike on the footpath. Madam Mayor, a question to Council is, does Council have any responsibility if someone is hurt on our footpath by these riders?
Mr. Medal.
No, and I have provided advice to Council previously on this. The legislation around their use is all administered by New South Wales Police, and they're responsible for enforcement. The Council's not liable for their use illegally on our footpaths or roads.
Well, thank you, Madam Mayor, Mr. Medal. Yes, people have come in and complained to me in person, and I'd direct them to ring the police to say, well, you had a near miss or near accident. Please report that, because statistics are important to make sure that action can be taken. So I thank you for that. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Saul. Councillor Pakes.
Just a question on flood mitigations mentioned as one of the audits. What's the progress and scope of the mitigation audit report? Firstly, capital works is a improvement opportunity. What measures might come from Kempsey Shire in regards to that? And the third section is biosolids. It was an unsatisfactory outcome for the audit. What's the remedy for that one?
Mr. Medal.
So dealing with those in reverse order. So because we had concerns about biosolids, that was why that was a management requested review to help us improve our performance. So there are now actions as a result of that review. With regards to the flood mitigation, that's looking at our structures, our defences and the operation thereof. Basically, one, to provide us with understanding about how well or bad we're doing in that space, but two, to provide us with a lever to go to the state government, the Commonwealth government, to understand what funding's required for a number of those structures which are reaching the end of their life. And then the capital programme, that's a more general overview for ARIC as a key risk given the size of our programme, and in particular where we're heading next year with a much bigger programme on the back of water and sewer projects. Hope that helps.
Thank you, Councillor Pakes. Councillor Selby.
Yes, through you, Madam Mayor. As Councillor Bain brought up, I think we need to we've got to get the message out there to people that there's not just one audit a year, there is a number of them. And because I've been asked the same thing, you know, and you see it on social media when they start to bag us, that's the first thing that comes up. We need an audit, we need an audit. But I think if the public's made aware of it, I think that that could be the best thing we could do, and just to alleviate their thoughts on it, you know.
Thank you, Councillor Selby. Is there any further discussion on this item? I hear none. Councillor Bain, would you like to close debate?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just very briefly, that the ARIC committee, the Audit Risk and Improvement Committee, is not a stick to beat Council with, as Mr. Medal pointed out, that management requests areas where to look into areas that the management identifies for improvement, but it's also in negotiation with the New South Wales Audit Office, who can also, they have their priority areas to look at. It's about a teamwork working together. An audit is a way to improve operational performance. It's not about punitive or pointing the finger. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bain. I'll now put the motion. Is there any dissent? There is no dissent. Item 11.2, the Stuarts Point Structure Plan. Do I have a mover for this one? Councillor Saul, seconded. Councillor Selby. Councillor Saul, would you like to open debate?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's good to see a Stuarts Point stepping forward and that a plan's being developed for the growth of Stuarts Point. So, Madam Mayor, just for those words, I'm happy to move on.
Thank you, Councillor Saul. Is there any questions or discussion on this one? Councillor Coburn, then Councillor Bain.
Through you, Madam Mayor. It was great to have those speakers last night to give a couple of quite different positions. So that certainly opened my mind a little bit. One of the questions I had was I know that there was a lot of community feedback, and I know a lot of that feedback was taken very seriously and changes were made to that plan. And I really think that that's a great positive step forward when we're looking at these plans, that we're listening to the community. I know that Stuarts Point is a particularly sensitive area and the community there have very, very high environmental values. I think some of the concerns are around the future development and the impacts that may have on the existing environment that is there. One question I would like to ask is we obviously have a landowner who's very keen to develop both of those areas, as he does own both of them, the ones that are identified for residential growth. I did have a bit of an alarm bell moment around the potential of another over 55s or manufactured home estate. I feel that does council fear that if this plan goes ahead, that the developer will look for a state significant development in that area?
Mr. Medal.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We've got a really good relationship with the developer, and that's not been flagged as something of concern to council. They've actually been a really good developer to work with on other developments. Like most developers, they want certainty, and this structure plan in guiding gentle growth and enabling environmentally conscious development around Stuarts Point that reinforces the existing character of the settlement, I think will enable some development that may be over 55s MHE, as was described last night, but it will in the main be traditional housing for families that reinforces and makes Stuarts Point a more sustainable settlement going forward.
Just a follow-up question. I know with the sewerage about to, come online will affect the rate impact for a lot of those residents. So they're over in that area. It is openly recognised as being a lower socioeconomic area. I think it's very important that I can see the growth numbers when we look at what's proposed in the plan. I think it's only across the 20 years. It's quite a small growth, something like potentially 78 new dwellings in that area. Is the existing infrastructure, once that sewage plant goes online, they do have a lot of problems, I think, that are related to possibly environmental impacts. Does council believe that the existing infrastructure will support all of those changes?
Mr. Trotter.
The scheme that's being constructed out there will cater for, the existing community and around 1,040 new dwellings. So there's no issues with that side of things. And with the growth rate that we're seeing there, the water infrastructure is able to meet demands at this stage as well.
Okay. Can I have another question?
Yeah. Can we just make them more succinct, please? You're taking a lot of time and building an argument as you go, so you need to make sure that you're asking for points of clarification.
Okay. The social infrastructure We talked about that briefly last night too. My concern is that if we have something like an over 55s, they often come under a community title, which means that they could potentially be like a small gated community. That raises a lot of red flags, I believe, for the community. Has council considered that social impact moving forward?
Mr. Medal.
So we don't have a development application in front of us. I would expect that there will be a range of housing types and tenures that are delivered over the next 20 years in Stuarts Point. I'm not seeing us skewing the market. But having said that, if a developer comes with a proposal that's consistent with the planning policies for the state and the Shire, then we'll assess that, and you may end up with a gated community there. But each application will be assessed on its own merits.
Are there further? Councillor Bain.
Martin Boo, Madam Mayor. Yes, I'd like to speak in support of this proposal. I congratulate council on the level of community engagement that occurred, and I congratulate the Stuarts Point community on their response. There was a huge response. There was great input, significant input. And just to bring up some of the points, there was concern about the increased costs of the sewer scheme. Well, the sewer scheme is about environmental and public health. We all know what happened in Stuarts Point in the past with flooding, with sewage floating in the streets and the need for pumping out. That sewer scheme is absolutely essential. The community's been crying out for it for 20, 25, 30 years. And now it's here, they're going, ouch, but it's going to cost. And the reality is services cost. I congratulate council again on amending the E1 local centre proposals. So there was some concern about the rezoning and the impact in that area, and it was amended to be more to bring comfort to the community. And I like that term, gentle growth, that we're looking at gradual change there. There's not going to be any radical changes. There was concern about the newly built tennis court and clubhouse being potentially reallocated or relocated. And, was that a waste of council money? I think people need to realise that this is a long-term plan, and it's a long-term plan for replacement down the track. We're not looking at doing this in the next 5-10 years maybe. But there's some really solid reasons for looking at when that asset needs to be replaced, of relocating that asset. And interestingly, as it lines up with what some of the young people were saying today, is that the active transport, the cycle lanes and walking ways. I also share Councillor Coburn's concern that the MHE, which is the housing estate, the manufactured housing estate for over 55s, does not equate with my concept of social and affordable housing. Thank you. But overall, I really support this proposal, and I welcome the fact that both developers and community were represented yesterday in the public forum supporting this. It's been really well managed. Well done.
Thank you, Councillor Bain. I was in Stuarts Point on Friday, and a comment made to me was how well the staff are listening to the needs of the community, and I think that was reflected in our two positive speakers that spoke yesterday. Councillor Pakes.
I'll speak for. Is that okay? I'd like to commend staff on this report in regards to it is a improvement on delivery to our community. It's an improvement because it will improve prosperity in Stuarts Point in time, and this is a step towards that. It's meeting the urban design objectives. It's a better fit, better performance, better for community, better for working, better for people, better value, and a better look and feel. And that's what this report brings to the community of Stuarts Point. It'll be prosperity. It'll be absolute prosperity for people to be able to gain work in the construction phases of it, to be able to live in a place that's close to the ocean, and to know that it's been designed with all the entire community's input, but also for the generations going forward. So yeah, I commend this to my fellow councillors, and I look forward to this being a line in the sand of how council listens to community and delivers for more than just a single output. It's delivering for the entire community. So yeah, I commend the staff on this report.
Thank you, Councillor Pakes. Is there any further discussion, Councillor Saul?
Shall I close debate if I speak, Madam Mayor?
Would anyone else like to speak on the motion? You may close debate.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, Madam Mayor, I mean to say, again, I commend the staff. This has been a lengthy report, but a well-written and well-put-out report. So I commend the Mr. Orr on his work. It has been one of the better reports Council's done, and I think for the community, a good outcome as well. Madam Mayor, housing is one of the most important things that we as a council can help provide. If we can get that infrastructure in place and get houses built to home our community, that is a pat in the back of the council and for our community. It's certainly a situation where Stuarts Point, for a long time, has wanted to grow and develop, and if this plan is in place, it can happen. It can change the dynamics. It can actually give people a better future. So I'm very happy to see it happen. I'm very much in favour of it. I think we all should be, and it has been a good outcome for both sides. So, Madam Mayor, I commend the report, and I hope Council also adopts the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Saul. I'll now put the motion. Is there any dissent? There is no dissent. The motion is carried. We now move to item 11.4, of which Mr. Medal and Councillor Pakes have a conflict. They have decided they will leave the room, so I'll just wait for them to do so. And then we'll move to 11.4. They have left the room. Do I have a mover? Councillor Saul, seconded. Councillor Selby. Councillor Saul, would you like to open debate?
Yes, Madam Mayor, and once again, we have development happening in South West Rocks. It's a place people want to come and live and grow themselves and their families. South West Rocks is the jewel in the crown of the Macleay in some people's eyes, but I do believe overall it is a bonus. And I do believe that having our population growing, we can get better funding from government and we can be taken more notice of. So I commend the report and I hope Council adopts it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Saul. Do we have questions on this item? Councillor Bain?
Yeah, I'm just, I believe there was some state government legislation last year that's removing planning powers from, decision-making powers from local government, and that there will be planning panels set up. But while we're waiting for that to happen, does council still have input into those planning powers?
Mr. Hood.
I think the details of that question I wanted to refer to on team, and if I can take that on notice would be.
Yeah, thank you. Because yeah, that's it's just something that was brought up when I was in a meeting the other day. I'm aware that metropolitan councils don't have input into planning, and I said regional councils still have, and someone said no, they're not. And I googled it a bit, and there was legislation through at the end of last year about council's input. So anyway, I thank you, Mr. Hood, for taking that on notice. I'd like to speak in favour of this now. It's not a question now. I'm speaking. Yeah, is that okay? So yeah, I support this. It's like there is. I can see with the environmental impact statements, there's no impact on existing koala habitat, and there's a fair bit of koala habitat around that area. So I'm just from what I had a look at it, that the high environmental values don't exist on that block that's being proposed. So I can see no impediment to supporting that process, and it's just putting it out. It's still got to go to community consultation for planning, and I think I'll support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bain. Councillor Selby.
Yeah, I support it, but I do have an issue with what I think is going to be a problem with it. Is I think you find there's going to be a lot of dual occupancies there now, that it's been brought down to house blocks instead of acreage blocks. We've had the problem out there at the Rocks with that before, with duplexes, with cars. You can't get through the streets. And I think the only way that we can solve that is to make sure, I don't know whether we can do it or not, that the roads are actually 4 lanes so that you can park a car either side and still have 2 lanes down the middle. That's the only issue I see with it. And I know it's got to be approved yet, but yeah, I'm all for it. It'll be good, but that's just one issue I have with it.
Thank you. Councillor Coburn.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Look, I support this as well because that area is already extensively developed. Some of the concerns that I have is around, because from Arakoon Road you already have existing hectare blocks that exist, and they used to have a lot of screening through the trees, etc. Now, the proposed sort of line that's going to separate those existing residences from the new development is really an unmade road. I would have thought that it would have been a lot more amenable if there was possibly some tree screening across that area, because I think the people that originally bought the properties on Arakoon Road had the expectation that they were buying into those sort of smaller rural-sized properties, and it does really expose them to what is becoming what I call the white development. It's very bright when you look in there, everything is white. So that's one concern. The other concern that I have is around man-made wetlands, wetlands for stormwater runoff. I noted when we had some major flooding, I went into that area to have a look at how it had impacted. And there is a lot of impact that happens from that runoff that is now used to be, all covered in vegetation down that gentle slope that comes into sort of Athena Parade. And there was extensive water runoff there. And of course, the leftover side of that was that once the rainfall stops, that water sat for a long time. It became quite black. There was mosquito plagues. It did create a few, again, problems, I believe, for the community. That's the feedback that I've personally had from residents over there. There's also that runoff. I believe the over 55s is remediating it, but that water also flowed right through onto the Crown land onto the golf course and created some major issues for them. It was a massive cleanup. And as we know, golf courses are very expensive to maintain. So I have concerns around that. And the other thing is, because we've now had what was one complete development has now broken up into smaller ones. Where is the green space? Where is the parkland? There's a lot of families that now live in that area, and there are no parks. There's no playgrounds for children. There's no green space for those residents to be able to enjoy outdoor recreation. So for me, they are just some of the concerns that I believe will come up later on. And I can see from the numbers that have already been given to us, there's a certain number of blocks being created, but the actual number of houses is already speaking to strata development, dual occupancies going in there. And it would be really awesome if council considered the transport movements within those areas. And I guess one further question is around the roundabout that will ultimately happen on Arakoon Road. To have another access point, which I think is vital for that community. Who will be responsible for the placement of that roundabout and that roadwork?
So, Mr. Hood, just answer that last question,
just that last question. I mean, ultimately, it'll be a council asset and be council work, but the details of that would be part of a future agreement. When application is made in the future. So I guess, that would detail how that would be delivered and how that asset would then transfer to council. So apart from that, it's hard to make comment, but it's not something that we're not going to have significant input into, given its significance. So.
I really would like a response around the green space aspect for public amenity.
I guess there's 2 elements to that. There'd be the individual applications if there was a DA that went in there for a future subdivision. So then you'd be considering green space impacts or it's part of a wider township assessment in terms of the amount of green space. And then separate to that would be our targets in terms of green space for the community. So I guess you'd sort of be meeting both. There'd be separate processes. So is your question more about how we maintain green space for future applications, or is it more general in terms of maintaining green space for the South West Ox community more generally?
I guess it's a combination of both. That's a massively developed area, and that will continue to expand, I imagine. I just feel that because we've had different developers involved with the different areas within that we have very little green space for public amenity in South West Rocks. I don't know. I think we've identified moving forward sporting space for public amenity, but small parks and play areas just for people that live in that area to have a space when you've got large amounts of family groups, particularly moving in. I think it's important to the overall amenity in that area.
Thank you. So review of small parks, I guess that'll be done separately by the strategic planning team. So that's a separate body of work. And I take your point in trying to get that balance. There's also a balance, I guess, on the maintenance burden it can create for council as well, because it is something that then becomes that council has to maintain. So that'll have to be carefully considered. But I do take your point. It is something that the team is looking at separately. And yeah, getting back to my earlier point, that was sort of a body of work over there, and then the impact of any specific development application will be sort of taken with consideration for that as well.
Thank you, Councillor Coburn. Councillor Selby.
Just clarification on, I'm just looking at the concept plan here. Well, Councillor Coburn asked about the roundabout. Well, they've got it here. It will be on Lighthouse Road, coming up to Lighthouse Road.
Yep, so there's a junction of Arakoon Road, Lighthouse Road, and the new road that they'll put in.
Yep. It's a continuation of Bill O'Connor. Yeah.
Yep. Thank you, Councillor Selby. Is there any further discussion or debate or anything new people would like to add?
I close debate, Madam Mayor.
If there's nothing further to add, you may close debate.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor, yes, once again, I commend the reporter, the manager on the report. Very well put together. But the main thing is, Council, we should not be frightened of growth. Growth grows our economy and has demand for goods and services in our community and brings employment and other parts. The point is, we shouldn't be frightened of growth. This is the first step in the scheme of things. It could be changes, but it's the first step. So let's get behind it and see our valley grow. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Saul. That concludes our business for today's council meeting, but we will need Mrs. Webster to read out the confidential resolution.
Should we bring back the...
And we'll need to invite Councillor Pakes back in. And Mr. Medal. Sorry, that hasn't concluded our business. Can we please now go to 12.1? Councillor Bain, would you like to move, and do you have a seconder? Councillor Lawrence. Councillor Bain.
Thank you. Is this the... I'll wait for it to get up on the screen. Or should I wait for... I'm just looking, I can't remember whether it was the bushfire management one or the Hillgrove one. Hillgrove, yep. So just key things with Hillgrove is the one of the key issues was the removal of what sometimes called waste rock, sometimes called tailings from the base of Baker's Creek, which is where traditionally the tailings were dumped, and there's a big load of arsenic and antimony and various heavy metals in there that feeds into the Macleay River. If you give me a moment, I'll get it up. So sorry, I'm a little bit unprepared. That it's been identified as legacy material rather than waste rather than rock or tailings, and the company are proposing to continue removing that and reprocessing it, particularly in the current global environment where price of gold is going up because of global uncertainty and also the need for critical minerals in the renewables industry. So, and the other thing that for me is the most important is the continuing containment of Tailings Storage Facility 1 and the dry stack tailings processor, which is going to make the processing of the waste materials from mining, the byproducts of mining, are going to be much safer. So if anyone's got questions and wants them to ask, I'm happy to respond. Or not.
Any questions, councillors? I hear none. Would you like to close debate, Councillor Bain?
Done. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
I'll now put the motion. Is there any dissent? There is no dissent. I'll now move to item 12.2. Delegates report Bushfire Management Committee. Councillor Bain, would you like to move it?
Thank you, Madam
And
Mayor.
do you have a seconder? Councillor Pakes. Councillor Bain, would you like to open debate?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Just the meeting, some of the salient points were the need for an alternate delegate. So if this is resolved, then I believe we're going to go into an election process for a alternate delegate. So that would be someone to replace me if I'm absent for whatever reason. Another couple of salient points: roadside dam access. So the roadside dams, which are used for providing water to the RFS, are controlled by Transport for New South Wales. So they had some discussions about whether RFS could have keys in order to access those dams. Wasn't possible because those keys access other depots and other facilities. So there's a verbal agreement that if RFS need access, they can cut the chain and put their own lock on, and once they've got their own lock, they'll have access to those dams. The seasonal outlook is for continuing drying, and if you have a look at the report, it shows how much hazard reduction and whether that is manual clearing or burning, and it discussed the recent successful hazard reduction in Settlers Way. Yeah. So any questions on that, I'm happy to take. And thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bain. Any questions, Councillor Pakes?
Yeah, just probably a question or a comment. The hazard reduction burns, those numbers seem a lot more than what we've seen in the past. Is that your observation? There's more planned and more hazard reduction occurring?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot more hazard reduction occurring, but also it's a tricky balance, the balance between whether it's too wet to burn, whether it's, and then you wait for it to dry out, and then suddenly you get winds, so you can't do burns when it's windy, and then it's too dry to burn. So it's a fine balancing act. So as they have a massive amount of plans, so both state forests, national parks, RFS, and fire and rescue have a bank of plans, if you like, so they can wait for a window of opportunity and get out there and burn. And I think it's really important that we remind community as of the end of this month, I believe the permits will no longer be required. Burn notifications will still be required, but people should be taking advantage of every opportunity to reduce fire hazards on properties, and possibly council can have a role in communicating that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bain. Councillor Pakes and then Councillor Lawrence.
Yeah, just probably another comment on like the reduced burden on emergency services, whether it be RFS and fire and rescue and anyone else associated to it. That's about reducing the burden on those people, plus reducing risk on individuals. Yeah, I'd just like a comment on that. Is that's the aim of the hazard reductions?
Well, the priority aim for the hazard reductions is to make the community safer, but also to reduce the burden on the support agencies. One of the issues that was raised with me by Crescent Head Residents and Ratepayers Association was that National Parks are going to be doing some burning up there around Skyline, and the possibility that the RFS can become and council can become involved in extending that burn onto some council managed land, which poses somewhat of a threat to those residents. Skyline's really vulnerable. It's got very difficult access and egress, and it's on the slope of a hill, and there's a lot of vegetation. So that's an area that hopefully RFS and National Parks are going to be working in collaboration. And I guess that's one of the keys of the Bushfire Management Committee, is about all of the different agencies working in collaboration. Thank you.
Yeah, I take your point on that location. There's other locations up and down the coast with similar risks. And when was it? Do you know the last time that area would burnt? It has to be 10 years longer.
Yeah, I would say it's long. It's a long time.
Thank you,
Councillor Lawrence.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I note in the report it says about the Indigenous Ranger programs that they've been established, and I understand there's 3 that have separate amount of funding. In there it says about their collaborating with agencies regarding culturally informed burns. Could you elaborate on that? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that. Thank you for that question. Yes, and in the past there was what was called a cultural reference group, where places like National Parks, State Forest, Crown Roads, Council met with key Indigenous bodies to discuss a whole range of cultural matters. That then stopped functioning for a while, and through the Ranger program, one of the goals is to bring all of the Ranger programs together around the same table, but also to be able to communicate with council, RFS, all of those key stakeholders. And definitely there is an appetite amongst the RFS and to work with Indigenous communities to do culturally informed burning. It's a bit of a new buzzword. It's not quite cultural burning, which is like which is something that it becomes almost a daily thing, but or hazard reduction, which is often quite fierce fires. But culturally informed burning is using a bit of both, containment lines, planning, but also very sensitive low-level burning, so that you're not. Sometimes that heavy burning actually creates more fuel. So, for example, if someone puts in a really hot burn, all the leaves on the trees die, they drop. 3 weeks later, you've got a fuel load again. So it sort of defeats its own purpose. Whereas with the cool burning, you keep everything that's green stays green.
Councillor Takes.
Yeah, so your knowledge of the cultural burning is it's a more easy process to occur rather than the RFS hazard reduction burn. Like their perimeters are a little, and I take your point on the low and slow burn, less damage, allows time for wildlife to escape, all those sorts of things. What's your comment on that? Hazard reduction burns are slightly easier to administer in regards to parameters in fuel load, moisture content, all that sort of thing.
It depends a lot on who the landowner is. So if the landowner is the group that are doing the burning, then as long as they've got a notification to burn, it's not the same as the RFS who has to have fairly rigid planning, rigid boundaries, and one of the things that I've observed happening is where a cultural burn is taking place, that the RFS, for example, might be invited to come along and observe, but they're also there in case things go. It's a really good opportunity for building reconciliation and resilience for future fire.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion on this? There's nothing further to add. Councillor Bain, you may close debate.
Done, Madam Mayor.
I'll now put the motion.
Appointed a delegate. Alternate delegate.
Yeah, so we need to deal with the motion and then we can appoint the delegate. So I'll put the motion. Is there any dissent? There is no dissent. We'll now move to appointing a delegate, which Mr. Medal can look after.
Are there any nominees to be the alternate delegate on the Bush Management Committee?
Nominate myself. We're not allowed to.
Yeah, you can do that. Councillor Saw nominates himself, and Councillor Selby, you nominate yourself.
Okay, right. Well, it's pretty much a show of hands then on between the two options. So, alphabetical order, those in favour of Councillor Saul. Those in favour of Councillor Selby. 4 apiece.
I think that means Madam Mayor gets a casting vote, do you?
Get it on a top hat or a curb?
It has to be in a Kubra.
Okay.
I will not accept anything else.
I used to be the delegate many years ago. It was too bad. We have the hat. Look at that.
It's not the second-hand tissues that are.
And there's no layers in the hat. Nothing to see here.
The results of the draw were that Councillor Selby is the
Congratulations.
Council's alternate delegate.
Thank you.
For the Bushfire Management Committee. To both nominees.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Medal, for conducting that election. That concludes officially our business. Mrs. Webster, can you please read the confidential resolution?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. During item 8, items passed by exception, the following confidential matter was resolved. So item 13.1, Regional Airport Program Round 3, TQE 2536, appointment of principal contractor. Council resolved that Council 1 notes the attached tender evaluation report. 2 authorises the CEO to enter into a GC21 construction contract with Airport Consultancy Group ACG for the tendered amount of $3,296,700, including GST. And 3 authorises the CEO to instruct claims and variations relating to the GC21 contract TQE 2536 between Kempsey Shire Council and Airport Consultancy Group ACG Proprietary Limited, up to 25% of the contract value to deliver the scope of the project, including any amendments as approved or directed by the grant funding body. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Webster. Well, that concludes our business here today. Thank you, everyone, for coming along. It was a really fantastic morning from our school leaders and a really important document we approved with the Stuarts Point Structure Plan, guiding future growth and making sure that we do have a plan for those communities that we will be developing. So thank you, everyone, for your attendance, and I declare the meeting closed.